Good morning, students. I hope all of you are fine today. So let's continue with the chapter which we have started earlier, that is gravitation. Students, in our previous class, we have learnt about thrust and pressure, in which we have got the formula of pressure, which is thrust by area. So, pressure and thrust are interrelated to each other. Now, today we will learn some observations on the basis of pressure. Now, the first observation is why school bags have wider straps. See, students, the school bag has wider strap because it is made up of thick cloth, so that the weight of the bag may fall over a large area of the shoulder, which produces less pressure on the shoulder. Now, students, due to less pressure, it is more comfortable to carry the heavier school bags. But in case if the school bag has a strap made up of thin string, then the weight of the school bag will fall over a small area of the shoulder, and it will produce a large pressure on the shoulder, and it will become very painful to carry the heavier school bags. The next observation is why a sharp knife cuts better than a blunt knife. A sharp knife has a very thin edge to its blade, so it cuts object better, as because the force of our hand falls over a very small area of the object, which produces a large pressure. Now, due to this large pressure, students, it cuts the object easily. But on the other hand, if the knife is blunt, that is, it has a thicker edge, then it does not cut the object easily, as because the force of our hand falls over a large area of the object and produces lesser pressure. So due to which it cuts the object with difficulty, students. The next observation is why the tip of a needle is sharp, students. The tip of a needle is sharp so that due to its sharp tip, the needle may put the force on a very small area of the cloth, which produces a large pressure, and it is sufficient to pierce the cloth being stitched. Now, a nail has a pointed tip, so that when it is hammered, the force of hammer falls on a very small area of wood, or you can say in wall, which creates a large pressure, and it pushes the nail into wood or in wall or in somewhere other place. The next observation is, students, why the pressure on ground is more when a man is walking than when he is standing. See, students, when a man is walking, then at one time only his one foot is on the ground. Now, due to this, the force of weight of the man falls on a smaller area of the ground, which produces more pressure on the ground. Now, on the other hand, when the man is standing, then both of his feet are on the ground. Now, due to this, the force of weight of the man falls on a large area of the ground and produces less pressure on the ground, students. So, students, it concludes that pressure and thrust are very much interrelated to each other, students. Okay, so it concludes as well that if the area is large, then the pressure will be less, and if the area is small, then the pressure will be large. Okay, students. Now, the next topic is pressure in fluids, students. So, see, as we know that water is a liquid, so when we pour some water on a table or on a horizontal surface, it flows. And we also know that air is a gas, so it flows from one place to another. So the substances which flows easily, they are called fluids. So all the liquids as well as the gases, they are called fluids. So as we have already learned that solids exert pressure on a surface due to their weight, similarly, students, fluids also have their own weight. So they also exert pressure on the container in which they are enclosed. So it concludes that a fluid, which is liquid or gas, they exerts pressure in all directions, even upwards as well. Now it arises one term that is called buoyancy. Now students, just look into the picture, okay? So when an object is placed in a liquid, the liquid exerts an upward force. For example, see, students, when a piece of cork is held below the surface of water by applying the force of our thumb, and then if we released it, then the cork will immediately rises to the surface. So it appears that if some upward force is exerted by water on the cork, which pushes it to the surface. So we can say that when an object is immersed in a liquid, it experiences an upward force. So this upward force is called buoyant force, students. So the upward force which is acting on an object immersed in a liquid, it is also called as buoyant force. Now students, the upward force is also known as upthrust. Okay students, now it is due to the upward force exerted by water that we are able to swim in water, students, and also ships can float in water. Now just consider or just think that if there were no upward force of water, we would not be able to swim and the ships would also sink. So therefore we can say that it is the buoyant force which makes the heavy objects seems lighter in water, students. Okay students, so students, our next and important topic is what are the factors which affects the buoyant force. There are two factors affecting the buoyant force, that is the volume of object immersed in the liquid and the density of the liquid, students. Okay students, so that's all for today. In our next class we will continue with the chapter. So thank you for today, students.